it's here. It's the mid-May hangout or something. I was gonna say bi-monthly, but I'm trying to work out, is that every 2 months, or I'm trying to go like twice a month, but I'm trying to work out if bi-monthly is the right thing or not.
It's bi-weekly, isn't it?
It's bi-weekly.
Okay. There we go.
Oh, good. It looks better on the actual screen than it does in my vantage point. Because right now, this is like the most demented version of the Brady Bunch I've ever seen if you're watching from my vantage point. Because I have AJ on top, Ashley on the bottom, and I'm just kind of like with them as always as Garth on the right-hand side. So I'm not even Ann B. Davis here. I have the hair. But I'm not even, but like, I have like this random like goof that's here as like special guest star. It's kind of like a Scooby-Doo episode. And you guys have no idea what I'm talking about because you're not seeing what I'm seeing. You're just seeing the triple. And I'm the one that has to look at this randomness all night long. All right. 6 o'clock. It's Sunday night. This has been a wonderful weekend. I've got a cat shirt. We're going to do this tonight. So, yeah. I'll say this numerous times tonight. And, Stream Funeral Gray. Welcome to another edition of Popcast Q&A Hangout, exclusively here on the Popcast Network. My name is Owen. You haven't seen me this happy in a long time, and you probably won't for quite a while. There's lots of reasons for it. Let's just say it's the best day ever. Needless to say, welcome, everyone. My name is Owen. Joining me, as always, we have Ashley.
He's happy because he's seen Sleuth. Trick question, he's watching it tomorrow.
You're partially right, but you're partially wrong.
Oh, right. He's seen half of it tonight.
I'm about 56 minutes from finishing it right now.
Okay, so we're roughly, we're about half.
Yeah, I'm, I hope it picks up.
You didn't have to see the remake. You didn't have to see the remake.
See, I'm not saying this now because I want to be saying it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this now. I wanted to be saying it tomorrow when we're doing PMC, but I do want to say right now that the only thing I know about Sleuth is it was a really awesome computer game I used to play all the time. I don't know if you've ever played it. It was a really old, like, MS-DOS computer game where you literally had to navigate around a building, and it was like a mansion, and there were various rooms, and you selected 7 names, and after they put in the 7 names, one person would end up dead. And then, of course, you'd have to figure out who did it and everything like that. It was awesome. It was something I spent a lot of time playing at my grandma's house back in the day. That was the only knowledge I've had at Sleuth until watching this movie now, which I'm starting to believe is literally just a 2-man movie. But we'll get to that later on. So, and that's just watching a half of it, ladies and gentlemen. We got a lot to talk about. Long time to go, short time to get there. 2-hour Popcast Q&A here tonight. And tomorrow, Popcast Movie Club episode Trace. And that means that you're also going to find out which one of the movies AJ and myself picked for 2 weeks from next. So that should be really fun to see where we go. I know the direction I'm going. I don't know the direction AJ is going because I kind of wanted to stay in the dark here. So we'll see how we go from there. We got our live chat as we always do, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to go right into it. The rules of Q&A, literally there's no rules. I'm setting a 2-hour time limit on this because, that's how shows go.
That's the only rule. Like there are no rules literally. Except that rule, which is a rule, but not a rule, but also a rule.
Yes, 2-hour Stream Funeral Gray. 2-hour time limit. And you can play a drinking game every time I say that during the show. Needless to say, I will stress right now that it's 2 hours the time limit, and then that's it. So yeah, you can ask questions in live chat. You can ask questions in the comments. Oh, you're probably wondering where AJ's movie review is and why there's a water parks video up for Saturday. Well, number 1, Stream Funeral Gray. Number 2, we're also going to go into AJ's going to get Tuesday. So yeah, that's official.
It
And
was it was going to be today, but
yes,
I lost a lot of sleep over the weekend, and it all caught up to me today. So that's why.
that's fair. I've kind of been stressing out a little bit lately over a couple things I can and cannot control, and as they have kind of righted themselves slowly but surely, getting a little bit more comfortable in everything. So, needless to say, I'm a lot more reserved than I usually am. So yeah, I understand completely how you're feeling because I've been kind of like not necessarily no sleep, but not good sleep lately. But now, yeah, slept like a baby last night. So needless to say, lots of cool things we can talk about, including something if you're a comedy fan. It was announced during the show I saw on Friday night that Ron White is not touring after this year. So I was very happy to say that I got to see one of his last live performances before he stops touring. So that was cool. But yeah,
You've got a lot of experience in these live shows, and I still have to say, even before what happened, I was still incredibly envious that you're seeing Chris Rock in July.
I'm very excited for it. I got a better one, not a better one, but I got something else that's happening. I have one that you're going to be like, yeah, that's cool, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to work it out because of Halloween Horror Nights. But if I can make it work, same place I'm watching Chris Rock, the same place I went to Bikini Bottom last night, needless to say, is going to be David Spade later this year.
Damn.
Not a guarantee, because it might be on a Horror Nights night. And obviously, I took no days off. So when that ends up being officially announced to be able to be announced, I'll see if I'll be able to go. But if not, then I won't. But it'll be like the Dane Cook situation. I had to miss Dane Cook because of Halloween Horror Nights a couple years ago. But there is somebody that I am going to be seeing that you're not going to be envious of, and that's me in December, as long as holiday does not coincide. I'm finally going to see Lewis Black live. So
I thought that's what you were gonna say. Yeah, I don't care. But Spade is the thing about Spade is that when you think about like the current state of his movies, that's not very exciting. But if you have watched him over the last few years now, David Spade has adapted his stand-up in a way I don't think I've ever seen a comic do before. Like whereas like there's those comics that have like a particular style and they kind of stick to that style, but it's like
right.
and you talk about like once comics start to get older, they might start to lose touch. Sometimes they get even better, like George Carlin or Louis C.K. or something. But as Spade has progressed, the way he updates his material is phenomenal.
And the great thing about that, AJ, is the fact that obviously we can't complete the Mount Rushmore because obviously Chris Farley's no longer with us, but be able to see Spade, Rock, who's left I need to see? Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
And Sandler came to the place I actually went to for AEW Revolution a couple months ago. So it's possible that I'll get an Adam Sandler show somewhere down the line too, as long as he doesn't like decide to stop doing stand up and then I'm screwed. But yeah, I mean, one thing I feel like I'm gonna start into more often than not. I don't have disposable income. Don't get me wrong. My money is basically tied up in wrestling figures and the Major Wrestling Figure podcast. But needless to say, at the end of the day, other than bills, the one thing I will break the bank on, I'd love to say concerts, but there's really not any major concerts. Like Water Parks doesn't cost $1 billion, which is fantastic, even with the VIP. And the Sad Summerfest tour didn't cost $1 billion, which is great because it's a bunch of bands, obviously, and with Water Parks headlining. But the thing about it is most of the bands I want to see, I can't see in some ways. And the other ones, they're going to play theme parks that I can watch for free. So it's like I don't really have to go buy concert tickets to go really see anybody. Like, I mean, Oasis aren't getting back together and coming to Orlando. So, I mean, that's not going to happen. So that's just basically like now I've decided I'm just going to start doing comedy shows. If I'm able to go to one, I'm probably just going to start checking them off the list because, like, I still kick myself for missing Dane Cook. And, honestly, in a long, weird way around it, I kind of kicked myself for missing Dice Clay a couple months ago. I'd love to have gone to that show. I don't know why I didn't. But, I mean, the great thing is comedy shows are decently cheap. And even at the Hard Rock, it was like $46 with tax and fees and everything just to go see the show on Friday night, and I was on the floor. I was like on the back row in the floor, but I mean I was on the floor, and the acoustics in the venue are good, but they're terrible up in the balcony because I learned that when I watched Weird Al. But the thing is like a comedy show, you need to actually be able to hear things. So I want to be on the floor. So a floor seat for a comedy show under $50. Oh God, yeah. Still angry I didn't get the second Patton show, but I ended up going to AEW in Jacksonville instead. So it worked its way out, and I still got to see Patton Oswalt right before the world shut down. So I mean, it's doing well. So yeah,
going through some of the names you just mentioned. It's weird to see Adam Sandler in like a serious film again after Uncut Gems, when the trailer for his new basketball one, is it?
Oh, okay, right on.
The one with Queen Latifah.
Yeah.
And that whole thing about how we seem to have gotten confirmation that he's reuniting with the Safdie brothers.
Yeah.
That's good. That's all
it's very... And hopefully it's more than just like that short we got. Like, then, it's an actual movie.
Then also that... I can't remember when, but the Weird Al movie we're getting with Daniel Radcliffe as Weird Al.
Yep. Trailer's interesting. I watched it on my phone when I was walking the other day. Yeah.
And then, of course, the most important comedy news of the fortnight from David Spade, that Norm did a Bo Burnham and recorded a comedy show with just him, like basically talking to a camera, wanting to talk about stuff because he knew he wouldn't have much time because he knew he was going to die soon. My question is, who's got the rights to it? And let me see it now.
Yeah, is this $1,000,000%?
Yeah, like, is this something that's going to be seen, or do we
I don't know. Spade said it happened on his podcast, I think, this week. It was like one of the big things.
Wow. Interesting.
He knows that it happened. I still watch that clip on the various tube sites for fighting in a four-sided ring. Where they have the I will not eat another morsel of food until Margaret Thatcher is dead and buried. And he's like, he died 2 weeks ago.
The funny thing is, we're starting the show out with comedy. I completely gloss over the fact that Troy's coming back in town this coming week, and MegaCon. I'm going to Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes Q&A again.
Oh, right.
So I'll be doing that on Saturday night.
Have you seen Mewes in person before?
Yeah, he was there for when the movie came out. Because remember when Kevin was doing like the road shows where they would show the movie and they do the QA afterwards. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw Mewes there, and other than that, I mean, I saw Kevin in Akron, I saw Kevin at Dr. Phillips. There's lots of Dr. Phillips conversation tonight. It's interesting. Needless to say, great timing. The thing is, like, lots of Kevin. I've watched Kevin several times. I went to the Smodcast live taping at Hard Rock Live, and then the road show for the movie with the Q&A, that was at Hard Rock Live, and this is going to be at the Orlando Convention Center during MegaCon. And I have priority seating, so I should have decent seats for it.
Am I remembering correctly that Akron show with Kevin Smith? Was that the same trip where you saw Black Snake Moon when it was nowhere to be found here?
Absolutely correct. Yeah. I believe the statement I put on Zanga back in the day was I had everybody who was the most special people in my world all in the same venue, just not at the same place. That was the best way to put it, because everybody that I wanted to be, everybody that at that time that I treasured most in the world in friendship and in love was there. So, and yes, we did watch Black Snake Moan beforehand. That was great.
Because that movie was elusive at the time.
Oh yeah. In essence, it's kind of like me going to California to see, like, Drive My Car. Because I didn't go to Akron to see Black Snake Moan. I went to Akron to see Kevin Smith, and I was like, oh, it's playing here. Let's go do this. Oh, by the way, it's a Regal. I can actually sign in and get in free. That's fantastic. Let's go. See, QA shows are really interesting because you never know what we're going to talk about. And Josie has brought up a lot of questions and a lot of comments in chat as per usual. So I want to get to her comments here and also Brian's as well. See if there's anyone else we're not seeing. Oh yeah, Spencer Reed too. So yeah, we'll go to that. Josie's like, hey, Popcast team, just finished reading 2 of Bruce Campbell's books. If Chins Could Kill, Confessions of a B-Movie Actor, and Make Love the Bruce Campbell Way. Both were hilarious.
I haven't delved into them much, but I want to like just gather up all the recent memoirs that have been released and just go through all of them because I'm fascinated by so many people that have put books out now, and I'm curious what all is in there.
It's weird.
What's that?
Go ahead. You're finishing a statement. Sorry.
I was especially interested in the one that Bryan Cranston put out because whenever he's on a talk show, he has a new insane. Bryan Cranston's life has been insane from the sounds of it.
Another thing I missed out on that day.
What was that?
I wish I didn't have to work that day. That's another thing I missed out on.
I'm still annoyed that I'm still annoyed that performance that he did of Network on the West End stage couldn't be streamed or anything because the people that put on the production that hold the rights to it are still trying to hold out for a modern movie remake, so they didn't want anybody to see it, except nobody wants to make a movie remake because I don't think it works.
Yeah, because I was gonna say at least like it's not. I feel like it's nice that we got All the Way as a movie because we got to see that performance. But it's like I really want to see that performance, but it would always have the stigmatism of being a network remake.
Mm-hmm.
So Josie continues. In the process of moving, experiencing house grief, and reading those books has been a saving grace for me. There you go. The ratings will plummet big time.
It's funny. I haven't moved very often. But I still can relate to house grief with other people's houses. Is that weird?
Not at all.
Like when we used to visit my aunt in Florida every year when I was a kid. It was like when she moved out of that house when I was an adult, it was kind of sudden. And it was like I actually had this whole moment of like, wow, I really wish the last time I was in that house I would have like basked in it a little more. And it's like I still think about that house.
Oh, it's funny because I'm probably most likely in the life never step foot in it again. But my grandma's house, like going down the stairs and everything, all the things I used to do when I was a kid there, all the awesome like times I had, like singing and like playing Batman and all the random stuff that happened down there back when I was a kid. Stuff hanging out with my cousins, playing pool, things like that, air hockey, all that stuff. It's just weird, like. One of the last times I was there, it felt so much different, and I understand completely. And like that's the thing. When Scott moved out, and I ended up getting Darren and Howard to move in here. Of course, it was Darren first, and then Howard, and now just Howard. The thing is that when that happened, I had the opportunity to potentially leave the room I'm currently in and just take the master bedroom because I was technically the person that was the main person on the actual lease, but I stayed here because I don't like moving. I just don't. I need more space for figs and shirts. But at the end of the day, I'm set in my ways, and I'm completely fine with this room. So it's just like I could have moved into the master bedroom. I didn't. So yeah, I understand about that too completely. Hopefully your move goes well, Josie. Wherever you end up moving to, whether it's like across town or another borough or something, just enjoy the move, and you get acclimated to everything really quick. It's funny because I remember like being at my mom's for so long, and then when I finally moved here, it was funny because we stayed in a hotel the first 2 nights, and the third night I decided I wanted to stay here for the first time. And when I did that, I was like, I'm actually home. I'm here. I'm in Orlando. I have an identification that proves I'm a Floridian now. I have succeeded in every way possible. And AJ, you know exactly what I'm going when I say this. Screw the haters, be jealous. I did it. So, needless to say, it was a great feeling. It really was. And to be certain places for so many years and like move back and forth, but staying there for a long time, it was great to know that I was finally home. So I totally get it. Josie says the ratings would plummet big time, but Bruce Campbell should host the Oscars. I can only imagine the stuff, and she didn't say stuff, He would say, roasting Hollywood's elitism and toxic fandom. Oh yeah, by the way, I know it's an older album, but Stream Fandom too. That album rocks. I have it. It's over there, but still. Anyway, it's gonna be one big water park split over tonight. Thank you, Josie. But yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see that. I mean, Bruce Campbell, of course, is kind of like here and there right now, so it's interesting to see him pop up every once in a while. If you've ever seen videos of him at fan events or listened to interviews, he has absolutely no filter. Brian says, after a break, I got back to the Oscar movies of the 2010 decade I missed. First thing I did, rewatch Whiplash, one of the best villains and endings of the decade. One of the best movies of the decade, period.
Oh my god. I just apparently it's on the commentary for Whiplash, but I just learned something recently that kind of blew my mind.
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what inspired I almost called him Damien Whiplash. Damien Chazelle when he did the ending of Whiplash?
No.
The ending of Death Proof, apparently.
That's awesome.
Where he talked about how Death Proof is the climax of Death Proof is 15 minutes of car chase and then just like there's nothing in between all of the action and mayhem and then just the end credits. And that's what he wanted the ending of Whiplash to be.
That's cool.
I would have never guessed that.
I like Chazelle even more now of the fact that he was taking homage to Tarantino, so that's even better.
And giving more respect to Death Proof, which it needs.
Absolutely. We'll give it some respect in the future. I got a feeling on that. You never know what might come up in Popcast Movie Club. Josie says, Cannes starts in 2 days. Armageddon time. Armageddon time.
I'm
trying to work out what that's in reference to.
It is like peanut butter.
Is it Hankshausen?
It's like
it's Hanshausen, right? That's the Armageddon,
no,
right?
It's peanut butter jelly time. It's just a different way to say it.
Oh, I was hearing it to the tune of Karma Chameleon.
Armageddon time. Yep, that works.
I think that's what it is.
Things make my head hurt. Anyway. Rest in peace, Fred Ward. Yeah, 100%. It's good that we got to talk about him. It really is.
Yeah, we were down to the wire there.
Yeah.
Because since we just talked about Tremors last year too.
Which was a very successful video for 2 people. Anyway.
Do you know the first movie I saw Fred Ward in?
No.
I'm almost positive it was Road Trip.
Unique.
But I have to call attention to something. I called attention to this when we very first started these videos in 2013. I called attention to this.
Right.
I've seen a lot of comments saying he only ever had one lead role with Remo Williams. I suppose you can't call it a lead role, but he was actually first credited in something besides Remo Williams, and it is a movie that I try to recommend as often as I can. And that's Miami Blues.
Oh, okay.
I love this movie so much, and it was when we did that video at the very beginning about stuff that I felt like was kind of off the radar. That was one of them. It's gonna have to. It might get something proper in the movie club at some point soon.
I figured that was coming.
And I also always remembered him for telling the 2 dogs fucking joke in Silkwood. It's one of the things I associate him with.
Very nice. So Brian said, as Amy, Zero Dark 30, Black Swan, The Hunt, Jacques Toon, Her, and Hugo is currently on pause as we speak.
I just rewatched Hugo like 2 weeks ago, just
Hugo's
out of the
so
blue.
So good. And yeah, just like Sleuth right now is on pause for me right now as we speak. Josie said, did you hear there's going to be a Spinal Tap 2?
Yes, I did.
No, I did not. That intrigues me.
And I did, and I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to be insensitive, but I guess now we can point out the irony of losing the drummer recently in real life. I didn't want to make a joke at the time.
Yeah.
Well, just like you wanted to kind of dance around a joke that, not necessarily a joke, but something you had to acknowledge on the review video, which is coming out Tuesday, with watching Studio 666. Very bad time right now.
Yeah, and I paused for a second before I showed Miami Blues because the cover is Alec Baldwin pointing a gun. That made me pause as well.
Oh wow!
I didn't. Like I said, we're trying really hard to not be insensitive. Just things catch you in the moment.
Thoughts on Chris Walken cast as Emperor Shaddam in Dune Part 2?
Unexpected, in a good way. Because the thing I was I feel like ever since they did that live Peter Pan thing, that Walken has looked kind of fragile lately in a worrying kind of way. And so when I saw a headline with Walken's name on it, I kind of froze and was like, oh, I guess it's about that time. And then I read the rest of the headline and it was like, holy shit.
He got a lot of good reception for the... Oh. It was on the BBC over here, but it's on Amazon where you are. I can't remember the name of it. Damn it, I'll have to quickly look it up. It's the one which is like the Offenders or something.
Oh, and I believe he's on Severance as well right now, if I remember correctly.
Let's have a quick look. I know it's from Stephen Merchant. Oh, The Outlaws. I think it's got the same title for you guys. But yeah, that got a good reception, and I think they've already started filming Series 2 as well. I think he's still around. I haven't seen the episodes myself, so I don't think he like got removed from the series. There is a chance of him being the second one.
So I can't really say anything about Christopher Walken and Dune because obviously we know my opinions on Dune. Anything that might make the movie better for me would be nice. That'd be good. I think Christopher Walken will help with that, for me at least. Or his soothing voice could put me to sleep. Anything's possible. You never know. As long as it doesn't talk about Silvertown, I think I won't be sleeping, so we'll be good to go on that.
And I will also say, even though this was only so much him, obviously, but his King Louie in the Jungle Book was really fun.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll give you that. I'll 100% give you that. Jungle Book's a very underrated movie. So Josie says, rewatch Mouse Hunt Friday night. That movie's hysterical. Christopher Walken's brief stint as the Exterminator is too funny.
Yeah.
Long time.
Him and Nathan Lane and Lee Evans were like just chef kiss.
Yeah.
And we're just plugging along here. Go ahead.
I still stand by it's Verbinski's most visually pleasing movie, by far, actually. I know people love Rango and everything, but
You love Rango.
Whatever to me.
I
love the idea of Depp being able to do the Fear and Loathing thing by way of what is Rango, a chameleon, I think.
Yes.
And the idea of making a Western Chinatown with animals. There's so many interesting things in Rango, and I feel like I should love Rango as everybody else does, but I just kind of don't for some reason.
That's weird.
Like all the pieces add up, but I just don't really care about it for some reason.
That's fair.
And of course,
So,
just like the Chippendale movie coming up, it has basically one character being met by himself, but voicing a different character.
Yeah, I can't tell. The only thing I've ever seen is a poster, and I know that it's Mulaney and Sandberg, but it's like, so is that going to be like a meta thing, or is it them slumming? Do we know?
From what the trailer is, it's like the one like sold out and went CGI, and the other stayed true to his nature and sort of everything dried up, so he's just doing regular sort of like work, but he's 2D.
That's interesting.
And then Seth Rogen's in it in some way, and somehow bumps into himself as the blooming warthog from Lion King. which is that.
Okay. So we're definitely going meta then.
Yeah, just in the same way, like in Rango, when Rango bumps into not Hunter S. Thompson.
Yeah. Roll, I think his name was. I'm not a Fear and Loathing fan, so I have to struggle to remember that.
Brian says, I did watch Sleuth today to get ready for tomorrow. Spencer Reed, any ideas for the next James Bond?
The actor or like the movie itself?
He's not specifying. I'm going to go ahead. Yes.
I'm going to guess actor. You know, honestly, I've always been on. Well, I don't know.
AJ knows my answer to this.
Because I don't think we need to do a Craig type thing again, where he's super gruff and super intense. But if we are going down that road, I'm really on the Hardy thing.
That's cool.
If we're going along the same routes as Daniel Craig, as in they showed up in really good performances that seem to be themed around spies and sort of stuff, Joe Cole seems sensible. His turn in Gangs of London, which was really good, and apparently a second season is coming. Obviously not with his character for reasons. That's all I'm saying.
What was that? There was a really good movie he was in. Was it A Prayer Before Dying? I think it was called.
Yeah, I think so.
Where he's like,
most recently, I don't know where it's airing in America, probably because it's on ITV, PBS. He was just in a new version, more faithful to the books of Ipcris File. Yes, he was Harry Palmer. But as I say, it was more akin to sort of being like an actual sort of spy thing, like the books, rather than what got adapted into the sort of brainwashing plot that the movie had.
I would say somebody like Joe Cole feels realistic, because I feel like it's going to be that thing where, you know, everybody was all over the Idris Elba thing forever, and we've seen names like Hardy pop up and all that, but realistically, it's probably going to be somebody that this will be their break. Like, it's somebody that will have been around, but this would be their breakout when it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's somebody that's not huge right now.
I've had the same answer since the movie came out many years ago. AJ knows exactly who I picked for James Bond without question. I don't know how well it's going to be taken, how favorably this response is, but I don't really care, honestly, because I like this idea, and I've liked this idea since the movie came out many moons ago. That I remember we did not necessarily review on this channel, because this was way before we started doing reviews, I believe. There's a movie that came out once upon a time ago called The International, and
he's way too old now, dude. I'm sorry.
I don't care. I do not care. Clive Owen is my James Bond, 100%. Watch that movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I honestly think also via his performances in Man from U.N.C.L.E. and Mission Impossible 6, like Henry Cavill was pretty good, but I think he's probably on the verge of being just a little too old as well now.
I gotta go Regina George on the Man from U.N.C.L.E. People are really trying to make a Man from U.N.C.L.E. resurgence happen. It's not going to happen. That movie is so fucking dull, I can't stand it. You'll see a copy of it behind me, right there, next to Manhunter. I got that at a yard sale for 50 cents, because I said, if I watch this again, my mind's going to change. And I felt exactly the same way I felt when I came out of the theater. I did not give a fuck about that movie, and I still don't. I do not get why people are trying to build it up like it's this lost masterpiece or something. It's not at all. At least to me.
For one person, it was a lost masterpiece because it partly resurrected their career, and that's Hugh Grant. Because then he went into Gentleman and Paddington 2 and very English Scandal.
I credit Hugh Grant's comeback to Cloud Atlas, which would have been 3 years prior.
That's fair.
Yeah, but Man from U.N.C.L.E. did give us Hugh Grant and Guy Ritchie, which led us to the Hugh Grant performance in The Gentleman, which I will forever be grateful for. So it works out.
we go.
Now I need to look for Hugh Grant on IMDb and see what he's working on, because I'm trying to remember. There was something somewhat recently. Part of me thinks that he's also involved in like the next Guy Ritchie thing because it worked. Um, it's a thing that's now it's a long-term thing. It's like Jason Statham and Guy Ritchie.
All right.
Did you ever think you'd hear the statement, Hugh Grant is the new Jason Statham?
Nope.
Probably.
Brian says, starting on Tuesday for the next 8 days, I will be watching all 8 Harry Potter movies for the first time. Wow.
How did you miss that?
That's fair.
Oh look, Operation Fortune, the new Guy Ritchie film with Jason Statham as well. Oh my god, it's the multiverse is colliding. And Josh Hartnett from Lucky Number 11. What the shit?
Yeah, we were talking like Statham and Ritchie were done, but like I keep forgetting Wrath of Man just happened, and Wrath of Man is really good. I shouldn't be forgetting it.
All right. So Brian says, since I saw Her, I think Dallas Buyers Club should have won the original screenplay.
Yeah, I didn't really connect with Her that much.
You didn't. I did.
But I get like, I definitely get it. Maybe I don't want to sound cruel. I don't know. I was gonna say maybe I don't feel lonely enough to connect to. But
I feel bad.
But I don't want that to sound like that's probably not the only way people connected to it. But I mean, the people that loved it like were really like moved by it in a big way.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. I also find it really hard. And maybe this seems like first of all, let it be known, I don't think I've seen Her since it came out. Maybe a rewatch will help. That's enough. Much like Man from U.N.C.L.E., I can literally see it from where I'm sitting. But it's just some of the details in there, like Spike Jonze voicing that video game character or whatever he was.
Mm.
It's so weird to me that a movie that's trying to be so emotionally resonant has those scenes in it also. There's a lot of things going on in that movie that stick out in this weird way. And I also remember coming away thinking, like, was Spike Jonze really horny when he wrote this? Because some of it's a little...
That's a likely conclusion.
I don't. That's another one where I wish I could connect to him, and maybe I can give it a try again. But yeah.
Well, that being said, we're going to go into Brian's 2013 Best Picture ranking. I'm with you on some of these. I'm definitely not others. So number 9 is Nebraska.
No, I really like. If I remember correctly, Nebraska probably would have been my choice for original that year, unless I'm forgetting something.
Yeah, I think so.
As far as what the nominees were, anyway.
So then we have American Hustle, number 8. I'll never live that down. Wolf of Wall Street, number 6. Way too low.
I'm curious. Yes, it is. There's no reason Wolf of Wall Street shouldn't be number 1. But I'm wondering if you would feel the same way I would, where, of course, you already loved American Hustle a lot more than I did, but I'm wondering what a rewatch would do for you, because there's a lot more wrong with it than I thought there was in 2013, and I already went after it quite a bit. I liked it at the time, and I can say, when you balance everything out, I still like it now. But there's a lot of, like, I will never, back then I didn't know, today I don't know what the fuck Bradley Cooper was even doing. That's one of the most baffling performances I've maybe ever seen.
Fair.
I don't get it.
Number 6 is Philomena. Number 5 is Dallas Buyers Club. Number 4 is Gravity, way too high. 3 is Her. 2 is Captain Phillips, and 1 is 12 Years a Slave.
I'm loving Captain Phillips being that high.
That's cool, but I don't think it's number 2.
So are we in agreement that Hanks' snub is one of the worst, maybe ever?
I feel butthurt about the Saving Mr. Banks snub. That should have worked so much better than it did. And Emma Thompson's the only person that got any love for that movie, and it still didn't.
I was saying it back then, and I'll say it now. I don't think Hanks was snubbed for Saving Mr. Banks because Colin Farrell is the real supporting performance of that movie.
That's a fair point. Buy one, rent one, lose one. New York Set Edition. Cool. This is a tough one because I have not seen most of these movies, so I guess we'll go with this. Should be easy then. So we've got The Warriors, Midnight Cowboy, Fisher King, Once Upon a Time in America, After Hours, Muppets Take Manhattan, Carlito's Way, The Apartment, Dog Day Afternoon, and 25th Hour.
Josie, you're gonna kill me with these.
I feel so terrible to say I've only seen 2 of these.
Well, much like when we did the vampire one, I don't think there's a bad one in there, is there?
I wouldn't know, actually.
Shit.
I would buy Once Upon a Time in America because it's 17 hours long. I would rent Midnight Cowboy because that's stuck with me ever since, and Toots on the Bummin' Harmonica is classic. And honestly, I'd get rid of Carlito's Way because I preferred Scarface better, and also it gave us that bloody shit Carlito's Way Rise to Power prequel that we didn't need. That's my only reason. That's my only sort of stupid reason. But yeah, I just feel a lot of the themes and stuff is very, very similar to Scarface, and considering that a lot of the same people are involved in everything, to some extent, I just feel I need to give that an edge.
I don't think I have a lose one because I've not seen enough to justify giving one. I will say the buy one, obviously, is Muppets Take Manhattan. I still love that movie to this day. I think my rent would probably be Midnight Cowboys. I can finally check it out. I've always wanted to see it. I never have.
You already know the ending because of Seinfeld.
Not wrong. I don't think I don't have an answer to the rest of it because, like, I don't. Maybe based on maybe 25th Hour based on, but that's just like that's based on like hearsay and everything. Remembering back when I used to work in the long ago in the way before times when I really was Dante working at the video store. So needless to say, lots of things have changed.
For the sake of time, I may have to come back later to this before we end.
Put a pin.
No, put a pin in that and keep.
I did have one comment on what Ashley was talking about with Carlito's Way Rise to Power. Okay. I think the thing that annoyed me the most was, if I remember correctly, Luis Guzman is in both movies. And they make a big deal out of Rise to Power being a prequel, but if I remember correctly, Luis Guzman is playing 2 completely different characters in both movies.
Yeah, it's like it's like the because you brought up Walken, I remember his playing like this really old juddery guy that looked nothing like him in the true crime video game Streets of LA, and then he was also in True Crime New York City, but a completely different character. But it's like, but that's the same voice. Why is he playing a different character? The hell.
Sometimes I don't mind it. Like the guy that played Mad Dog in The Raid was a different character in The Raid 2. But for some reason that didn't bother me. But it was
well, no, because it was like established that the other person died. Like, yeah. And it wasn't Raid 2 was not a prequel to Raid 1.
Fantastic.
Plus, he's another specific case because it's like nobody else can really, very few people can do what he does, so it would make sense they just rehire.
And yeah, so 3 actors: Guzman, Jamie Sanchez, and Jamie Torelli play different characters in the both films. Okay. Also, why?
Okay. Josie says the Raimi Spider-Man movies used the New York setting really well. As a cliche as it sounds, New York is a character in the story. That's something I think the newer Spider-Man movies are lacking.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
I guess the problem that you have now, though, is of course like you have to have all these Marvel buildings in this fictionalized New York. But obviously, in the original Raimi verse, never existed because that was never thought of being a thing. So it felt more like, you know, you can do stuff like that rather than, oh, let's do this around Avengers Tower or the Avengers base or, you know, the Sanctorum Strange thing. Like all these places that don't actually exist, but exist in video games because it's forced in, because references.
Speaking of weird references, we'll get to one. I'll get to your comment in a second, Brian. Interesting you bring him up. Josie says, "Remember Emperor's New Groove? David Spade did the voice in that." Yeah,
Of course. Emperor Cusco.
Underrated that thing. Because it came out in those last few years of like, you know, I guess the I wouldn't say heyday because Home on the Range. Oh wait, it involves cows. Hey, lol.
I hated that movie so much.
Some of those last few, like, traditionally animated style films from Disney itself were really not that good. But I think Emperor's New Groove is probably the last one. I'm trying to think what came out in 02 and 03, other than Home on the Range.
I do recall because me and my brother did a video on Emperor's New Groove probably a couple of years ago, and we talked about how it was like it was kind of seen as the end of an era at the time. The line I always think of is when they're on the raft and he's got his back to the waterfall, and he says to John Goodman, he's like, "We're going over a waterfall, aren't we? And there's sharp rocks at the bottom. Bring it on." That's basically how I approach life anymore.
Sounds about right.
And obviously I'm a big mark for Cusco because of Patrick Warburton in the Disney animated series.
I mean, Kronk.
Yes. Kronk is one of my favorite Disney characters that does not get nearly enough love.
That
he got his own movie.
Kronk's New Groove was actually like one of those straight to video ones that was actually okay and not atrocious. Because Atlantis, I think, is really underrated, but the Atlantis Milo's Return was like really bad. And then I think the same happened for Lilo and Stitch, where the straight to DVD one was rough. They never bothered with Trevor.
Like a few straight to DVD ones, didn't it? I can't even tell them apart.
They never bothered with Treasure Planet. Brother Bear, I think, had a sequel somewhere down the line that was straight to. That was straight.
Did you say it? Did you say Atlantis Milo's Return?
I think that's what it was called.
This is the first time I've ever heard of that. I had no idea Atlantis had a sequel.
I remember seeing a video store back in the day.
Direct-to-video sequel. Because it worked for Aladdin, so it'll work for everything. And guess what? Didn't work.
And Josie says Patton Oswalt is a very underrated comedian. Yes, Josie, there's a movie that came out many moons ago called Big Fan, and if you're a Patton Oswalt person, I 100% recommend it.
I mentioned it in the same video I mentioned Miami Blues a long time ago. That's another one that kind of needs more time devoted to it.
Yeah, there's a lot of like weird movies we like, necessarily weird, but like interesting movies we watched in a span of a short amount of time. We were like trying to check off everything, like a huge checklist, like we talked about 2 weeks ago when we were doing the show, and recommended a lot of things that probably you may never have heard of before. And some of you have, some of you haven't, but there's a lot of movies that I think I'm glad to never ever talk about again.
I also, if we're talking about Patton Oswalt and his comedy, I have to bring up, he's got a lot of classic bits, obviously, but one that I don't think gets enough attention that should be considered one of his classic bits is, if you look it up on YouTube, I believe it's called Money and Pussy. And it's the one where he defends Coldplay.
It's absolutely great. Yeah. It's fantastic. And I mean, like, the KFC famous bowls everyone jumps to immediately, and it's just like he's got a lot of really good classic stuff. And I've been using the 8 guys, 9 guys reference my whole, like, pretty much ever since I first heard it. And to this day, people have no idea what I'm talking about. When I say 8 and 9, I kind of giggle a little bit, no matter where I am in life, because I'm a child. Needless to say.
I think, is he also the one that has the bit about the birthday clown that came out of the woods?
Yeah, I believe so. The Carvel ice cream cake and the, oh my god, yeah, Patton bits are great. So Brian brings up Adam the Woo, which is interesting because to know him. He's been doing baseball on his vlog channel. One of his recent vlogs in the Tampa Rays at the Angels vlog, he got to hang out with Thomas F. Wilson. Oh, Jack Swagger, of course. Yeah. Biff Tannen from Back to the Future. So yeah.
I gotta say this every time he comes up. The Back to the Future trilogy is pretty much flawless.
The video game, not so much.
Thomas F. Wilson is a big reason for that.
That's fair.
He is absolutely the unsung hero of the trilogy.
When I said 100% that when I've called Biff Tannen and Jack Swagger, I don't mean Jake Hager now. No, I mean Jack Swagger back in the day. So yeah, Josie says a Darkman sequel's in the works. Interesting.
A sequel or a remake? It has like 2 straight-to-video sequels.
I'm guessing more of a full-fledged like theatrical sequel, if I had to guess.
Like retconning the direct-to-video sequels.
That's what it sounds like.
So does that mean Liam Neeson is involved? I doubt we're going to get McDormand, but...
Well, you never know. She did do a documentary that won Best Picture, so undeservingly, so you never know.
Oh, yeah.
Josie says Thomas F. Wilson, same birthday as Emma Thompson, Emma Watson, Seth Rogen, Elizabeth Montgomery, which is April 15th. Odenkirk has a couple of books coming out. Loud of Hooey by him is really funny. He has a new memoir. Josie says, I watched Sleuth last night as well. What a movie. I'll save my thoughts for tomorrow. I don't know what's going on with anything at this point, an hour into it. I've got my suspicions, and I'm not going to say anything right now, but I really like what I said at the beginning of the podcast, saying that I feel like it's a 2-man show, more ways than one. I will see if I'm correct or not by the time we get that 56 minutes left of this movie, which as of right now, full disclosure, I'll shoot with you because you know that I'm not going to lie. I'm too happy to lie right now. Needless to say, at the end of the day, yeah, I kind of like dozed off the first 15 minutes because I was losing it like real quick, but I had to pick it back up.
It's so, yeah. Okay, we'll get all this tomorrow. I was about to just go into it.
Yeah. We'll get there. Maybe it'll pick it up. I think it might. All I will say, Josie says, is a scene in Austin Powers 3. Have an issue, here's a tissue. Nice. Daddy wasn't there. Yes. Love that. It's good stuff. Good song, too, by the way. AJ, if Bruce Campbell were to host or present at the Oscars, what would you want him to say or do as making fun of people? Sidekick it. That's the correct answer right there. The Sky High reference.
Yeah. That's another thing I actually watched pretty recently. I keep forgetting how like actually good Sky High
It's
is.
funny as all get out too. That's the best part about Sky High.
How would I want Bruce Campbell to roast people? Oh man, there's so many questions where I'm like I'm gonna have to come back to this. I never figured out the New York one.
Josie, thank you for giving AJ thought process to marinate after he has actually had decent sleep. So now he can have that run around in his mind until he comes up with an answer at the end of the show in about an hour. Josie
Yeah,
says, fun fact. Go ahead.
I think it was the last time we did this. I was so tired I didn't feel present at all really. So
Yeah. I'm definitely in a much, much better headspace in more ways than one than I was back then, 2 weeks ago for sure. Fun fact, Bruce Campbell's wife is the costume designer in Army of Darkness. They met on the set of Mind Warp. He pretended he needed sewing lessons to get into character just to spend time with her.
oh, that's actually romantic.
I mean, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Sometimes you got to take that $50 Uber fee just in case and see what happens. Needless to say, you never know what things may come your way. She was a costume designer on that too. Mind Warp involves simulating people into a digital reality before the Matrix. Spencer Reed, if you could pick a director to work with two actors and actresses, who would they be that have never worked together?
Wow. As soon as you said that, I had the answer.
I'd say something, but I think I'd give something away, so I can't really go there.
I want Tarantino to work with Emily Blunt and Ethan Hawke.
No, you want Tarantino to direct a script that you wrote by with Emily Blunt and Ethan Hawke.
Oh no, I'd have to do my own scripts. I wouldn't give them away.
That's fair.
Even to him.
He did punch up on like he did with It's Pat. There you go.
And that might sound like a boring answer because it's my favorite director and my favorite actress. And while Ethan Hawke's not my favorite actor, he's certainly one of them. But I mean, I'm not just saying that because they're my favorites. Think about Blunt and Hawke in a Tarantino movie. It would work so well. It's insane. honestly, pair the two of them up with anybody. But imagine if a headline was released that said that Tarantino was considering Blunt for his last movie.
Right.
I think my heart would stop. Like literally.
You know,
I think the other reason I say them is because Blunt and Hawke are so good that they can adapt to anybody's style because they're both so diverse. Like they could do a Tarantino movie just as easily as they could any director that has a very obvious style that's obviously a distinct style. They could adapt to that very easily. Like how, Ethan Hawke does Scott Derrickson just as well as he does, Robert Eggers or Antoine Fuqua, and it's insane what they can do.
I think I have a great answer to this, and I want to see it, and this needs to happen. I want Christina Ricci and Aziz Ansari in a Wes Anderson movie.
Okay, yeah, because as soon as you said Christina Ricci and Aziz, I was like, that's a weird combination. And then you said Wes Anderson, and it's like, I get it now.
Yes. And
I can see
obviously, oh my god, it'd be amazing.
And another reason it almost seems like Aziz connects to Wes Anderson is I feel like it's not a coincidence that Aziz is working on his directorial debut right now, and he cast Bill Murray.
It's funny about Aziz, honestly. Like, I mean, granted, like recasting would be like sacrilegious at this point, but like Four Rooms, could you imagine Aziz as Ted the Bellhop?
You're asking me to picture anybody but Roth, and that's hard.
I know, man, but God, I can just totally imagine it.
I can maybe see it as him doing it as a Human Giant sketch. I don't know about a movie.
How about Aziz in the Grand Budapest Hotel?
Yeah, like it'd have to be like it wouldn't be one of the pre-existing characters. He'd have to be like a new character that wasn't there
Yeah.
before.
I just want that's another thing. It's not really I can't call it a bucket list because it's not like end all be all like Penn and Teller or anything like that. But I will say that seeing Aziz Ansari doing stand up is something that I still badly need to have happen before I pass away down the line. I feel like I got a little bit of time for that to happen since I
love
kind of strong. So
I love how the phrasing of that implies that Aziz will still be doing stand up when you pass away.
wow, I'm 48 years old and I'm still doing stand up. Yeah. Well, I don't want to mess with the Chick-fil-A. The Chick-fil-A is delicious.
I just mentioned it in passing, but this would probably be a good time to bring up Human Giant if nobody has heard of it before.
God, yes, please. Please watch
Apparently,
Human Giant.
it's a sketch show that Paul Scheer, and Rob Hubel did that was MTV, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It does have a DVD.
You have that DVD, that very
Yes.
elusive DVD, because apparently the reason it hasn't been on streaming or available or anything was that they lost it.
Right.
And then I guess sometime last year Paul Scheer said that hard drives were found in like a janitor's closet with the episodes on them.
It's one of those lost media finally discovered.
Now, AJ, speaking of that reminds me of Skylar Stone's Con that had a series on MTV. And it's funny because it's a little story ski about this. I want to go into this. So I don't remember how this pans out, but Skylar Stone was on Twitter. He's like heavy on Twitter nowadays. But this was back when like Con first came out, and he was like, hey, I've got the entire series on a DVD. If anybody wants it, let me know. And I was like, okay. So I messaged Skylar Stone, and I was wondering if it was actually going to be him or not. And I was like, I gave him my information. I was like, yeah, what's the worst that could happen here? I mean, granted, I did see Penn and Teller get killed, so anything's possible. But at the end of the day, it's probably not a good idea to give your address to somebody who may or may not be an actual celebrity. But I did it anyway, and sure enough, AJ knows this. Shortly after, I received the DVD in the mail, and I had every single episode of Con that was on MTV, including the one lost episode that was never aired. Love that show. The show was great.
I have an interesting story as well related to this. I don't know that I've mentioned it during one of these before.
It's possible you haven't, because we haven't only been doing these like fireside chats for a while now. So
where obviously the IMDb message boards used to be like a bunch of communities all there. Some of them absolute cesspools. Some of them places where you could actually meet genuinely good people.
Yes,
like my other best friend apart from you that I still am talking to right now, I met like 10 years ago on IMDb.
That's correct.
And there was a guy on there, a guy that actually started our little reboot board after IMDb died. The board died, which essentially killed IMDb too. But we were talking. I had mentioned before, for a little backstory, that one of my least favorite actors is Edward Burns. I said he's written and directed a couple good movies, but overall, I think he's just one of the worst actors.
Mm.
So, on the board, back when it was still IMDb, we were talking about Justified, and I hadn't watched Justified yet. And this guy messages me. I've only had maybe a few interactions with him by this point, though we've seen each other around, obviously, in the posts. But he said, it's really weird to me you haven't seen Justified. And he said, well, I happen to have the first 3 seasons on DVD, and I'm replacing them because I got them on Blu-ray. If you want that, because it was around Christmas, and he said, since it's that time of year, I could probably just send these to you if you want, because I'm getting rid of them anyway. And my first thought was like, do I give this guy my address? So as if it was gonna make I don't even know what made me do this. As if it was gonna make a difference, I gave him my address, but not my name.
Oh God.
And sure enough, like a couple weeks later, a box shows up, and the name on it is Edward Burns.
Priceless.
And I open it, and there they are, the first 3 seasons of Justified on DVD, and I still have them. And that's how I started Justified. I ended up watching, like, the rest were at the library, so I ended up watching it the whole way through when I got those. And it's crazy what can happen when you like don't trust people on the internet ever, but sometimes sometimes there's exceptions.
It's funny because MTV, like, one of the things that before, like, when it, like, music just completely disappeared from the channel and they just started, like, living on television, there was a lot of great comedy on MTV. Honestly, like, they had the half-hour comedy hour. We talked about Human Giant a little bit ago. Buzzkill's great. I definitely recommend Buzzkill. Buzzkill's wonderful. Dave, Frank, and Travis, if you ever get a chance to check that out. I don't even know if it's available anywhere, but Buzzkill was another great, like, sketch comedy show, which was kind of like they were pulling pranks on people. This was way before this was a cool thing to do, is pull pranks on people. I love the show. Show was great. One of the big things I've always been a huge mark for is The State. The State is, like, something that is always going to resonate with me, and there's, like, obviously, like, before Reno, before everything, before anything became anything of it, like, before Stella was The State, and it's like, I absolutely love The State, and it's just something I definitely recommend. If you watch Reno, if you've watched Stella, if you watch Viva Variety when it was on for, like, a short amount of time on Comedy Central, yeah, The State's phenomenal, and I absolutely love it. Some of those bits I still use to this day. I reference things. Everybody always my friends forever and a day, like, here, give me complete garbage for bringing up, like, old band references when it's like 90s references. Like, sorry. But the funny thing is that, like, I like my own brand of comedy, and, you know, honestly, I like making old references, and as long as I get a laugh, I could care less who likes it, honestly, at this point.
I'm just liking the fact that that's one of the very few good things that came from Edward Burns' career, other than, like, Saving Private Ryan and his debut feature, getting the 3 seasons of Justified. Because, like, the rest of it, not so much.
Well, okay, I see we got a bigger chat, so we gotta move this along. We only have about 45 minutes left. So real quick, Ashley, since you disappeared again, and then we never asked where you go, and you come back with food. Needless to say, Spencer Reed has a question. If you could pick a director to work with 2 actors or actresses who had never worked together before, whom would it be?
Actresses? Ooh.
Doesn't matter. 2 actors, 2 actresses, or one of each, and a director. I'll give you a frame of reference. AJ went with Emily Blunt and Ethan Hawke with Quentin Tarantino. I went with Christina Ricci and Aziz Ansari in a Wes Anderson movie. But AJ, honestly, another one. I want to see Penn Jillette in a Kevin Smith movie.
Okay.
Make it happen. Honestly, if George Carlin would not have been around, I could have loved to have seen Penn play Cardinal Blick.
That would have been fun.
I would have loved the daylights out of that.
I could literally see him saying, "Christ didn't come to Earth to give us the willy."
Same.
Chris Pratt.
All I'm thinking is this better be good.
I'm trying to think of, like,
I have a reference, but it's gonna go over everybody's head. I might even bring it up.
I can't say the name that I want to, because Chris Pratt and somebody that I can't think of that's female. Maybe you can pitch ideas in an Edgar Wright film.
Like Chris Pratt in The World's End, basically.
I'd like to see sort of Edgar Wright do romantic, like, more traditional rom-com rather than Scott Pilgrim versus the World rom-com.
So when you say Edgar Wright, the very first thing I think of it's got to be somebody that can talk really fast.
Oh, if that's the case, the script has to be written by Aaron Sorkin then. That's the combination.
So we move on. Josie says, fun fact, Gene Hackman at one point interested in playing Hope Mosley, while Fred Ward initially wanted to portray Frederick J. Franger Jr.
That would have been very interesting. I could definitely see Hackman as Hope Mosley. That's I'm kind of, as much as I love Fred Ward, I'm like kind of married to that idea in my head now.
Oh, God, Spencer, you're throwing out a bomb on us here. Favorite Disney animation movie and least favorite? Let's go look it up.
What counts as Disney animation? Is that
Walt Disney Animation? So animation studios. I'm gonna guess we're like stopping at like Princess and the Frog.
Well, no, because technically, of course, you know.
Oh, there's more now, yeah, but you don't think about that because everything's Pixar now. It seems like.
All right? So how far back does that go?
I mean, technically, the first was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs in 37. So, like.
No, okay, this isn't terrible. I mean, according to this, Steez, it looks like we've got everything. No, that's franchises. Never mind. It's gonna take a while. List of Disney theatrical animated feature films. That's scary.
Because when I hear Disney animation now, I just think about like the current 3D animation.
Okay. I don't count those. The worst one, and obviously it's easy for me because it killed a damn franchise. That's Monsters University.
Wait, so is Pixar involved or not?
That's the thing. Like, I was just doing it on like the Walt Disney Animation Studios.
I'm trying. It's not possible.
Yeah, because the list I'm looking at doesn't use Pixar, so that helps.
It says 2007. I don't have a list. Can you send this? Show me what we've got to work with.
It's literally on Wikipedia.
Yeah, so I just googled Walt Disney Animation
If you go to the Emperor's New Groove page, and then you look at the bottom, it says Disney Theatrical Animated Features.
Okay, so it starts at Snow White and it goes all the way until
Encanto.
That's a good one.
I'd say the worst one is the Winnie the Pooh one, but not the one from the 70s. That 2011, like whatever the hell it was. I don't think that even got a cinema release over here. It was that love. They just literally, I think, stuck it on DVD over here.
God, there's a whole. Oh man, I can't.
And that says a lot because they put Home on the Range in cinema.
Yeah, that's the okay. That's the easy answer. Definitely the word of all times.
I know what my favorite is without even thinking about it, but there's so many that are worthy of shout outs. And then what's very interesting is I don't think the worst Disney Animation Studios has to offer are bad movies. They're boring ones. Because there are 3... I'm looking at this list now, and I didn't know this till right now. There are 3 movies that are considered absolute gigantic Disney classics.
They're boring.
And I always thought they were extremely boring, and they came out consecutively. I was never big on Cinderella, Alice in Wonderland, or Peter Pan. I thought they were absolutely boring as fuck.
Oh, man. Dang, this is bad.
So that says that Lady and the Tramp was awesome.
I like Lady and the Tramp a lot. I do.
I can't get
that. And the one before Cinderella was Ichabod and Mr. Toad, which of course is amazing. So
I mean,
I love Fun and Fancy Free just because of Mickey and the Beanstalk. Not that I have any problems with like the juggling bear or whatever his name was, but
obviously my favorite Disney animated film of all time is Aladdin, which I know the irony of there being Jafar turning into a giant snake in the movie, but I get that. I always will love Cinderella, maybe less now than I did before, but and once again, this isn't recency bias, and it's not biased for other reasons, but AJ knows that one of the most awesome things for me in the world was Mandy Moore as a Disney princess. So I have to throw out a shout out to Tangled.
I never gave a shit about Tangled. Sorry.
On the sort of like classic front, if you want to call it that, I'd probably say Jungle Book. But I think the underlooked one should I say, which gives you a clue. The two Rescuers films.
They're fine.
Are really, they don't have a lot of hype for them, and I think they're better than they're sometimes made out to be.
Oliver and Company is really underrated too.
Lion King got ruined by Jon Favreau.
There's definitely a couple of shout outs I have to give here. Like, I'm actually bursting to give these shout outs. Well, one of them real quick doesn't really need a shout out, it's obvious. As I've gotten older, Beauty and the Beast really, really resonates. Like when I would see Beauty and the Beast as a kid, it was fine. It wasn't one of my favorites. But as I've gotten older, I'm really starting to see what the big deal is. But the two that I absolutely have to mention are 101 Dalmatians and The Great Mouse Detective.
Another one I don't like that everybody seems to absolutely adore is Zootopia.
Yeah.
I never got, Travis ruined that movie for me 100% with that stupid sloth stuff. But at the end of the day, I didn't like it. I just didn't like it at all. It just didn't work for me. Meet the Robinsons is really underrated too, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen it since the theater, but I remember liking it quite a bit.
Oh, maybe.
But going further on, The Great Mouse Detective I've talked about because I did that video with it in Roger Rabbit, but I haven't really gotten to sing the praises of 101 Dalmatians to express that, because those are two movies that I watched a lot growing up. 101 Dalmatians I practically had memorized by the time I was 8 or something, maybe even 6. But at almost 32 years old, The Great Mouse Detective and 101 Dalmatians both still get regular play in my Blu-ray player, even now.
Obviously, I'd be remiss, even though it's not recency bias, it's just that freaking good, and Kanto is amazing. And I think it's going to go in history. Granted, I love how Lin-Manuel Miranda is already trying to work with Disney to get an attraction in the theme parks, yesterday at this point. So we're going to see something in the parks real soon at this rate.
That would have to be so elaborate.
I'm sure it's not going to be just some sort of a rehash of Grand Fiesta Tour, which I feel like that's what they would do. But no, I feel like something big will come out of it. But yeah, there's a lot of
their contribution this year.
It hasn't got. What was that?
Their contribution this year supposedly is going to be entitled Strange World, coming again in that November release, because I guess it did well enough for Encanto.
We're going to need to put a pin on this part of the conversation. We got so much left to do and we don't have much time.
Last thing I was going to mention was it doesn't have its own video yet or anything from me, but I have mentioned many, many times my love for Wreck-It Ralph, obviously.
Oh god, Wreck-It Ralph's great. I get to watch it on the Disney Fantasy, actually. I watched it on the big screen. One of the nights, it's I had a 7-day cruise, and every night there was always something in the Walt Disney Theater. Well, one night we didn't have an actual show, so in place of a show, they ran Wreck-It Ralph on the ginormous screen in 3D, the 3-tiered Walt Disney Theater and everything. Oh, it was just awesome. Definitely recommend. And that's coming. Doesn't watch 3D until I finally broke that 3D rule the other day, because that's the only way I could watch Doctor Strange. So that's the first 3D movie I've watched since I moved to Florida. So
I'm making a call here now, and I'm putting it just in chat. We're going to cut off. We're not going to stop you from writing and whatever, but the comment cut off is coming in 5 minutes.
Yeah, we got to
because we've got so many minutes to get through them. So.
And we'll put a pin in that, and tomorrow after we get done talking about Sleuth, we'll go into more content as much as we can. That's what these QAs are for. And so it looks like if everything works out, that's going to be on Double or Nothing weekend.
Mm-hmm.
which means that you're going to get shows on Monday and Tuesday instead of Saturday and Sunday. Sunday and Monday.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll be doing the last 2 days of May, which you never know what I might be able to announce in a couple of weeks. I guess you're just going to have to wait and see. And hit smile, smile, nudge, nudge. Josie says, I've been jamming to Everlong and learning to fly with the Foo Fighters recently. Yeah, tell me about it. I've been like really listening a lot of Foo Fighters, and it's like sprinkled in my water parks and my SpongeBob the Musical playlist lately has been Foo Fighters every once in a while. And yeah, it always kicks so well. And Josie asked the $1 million question, Foo Fighters or Nirvana. It just depends on if you rather have Dave Grohl singing at you or Dave Grohl playing at you. And the answer is yes.
Yeah, that is the correct answer.
Obviously, I'll be talking about Foo Fighters in a couple of days. So.
Yes, you will. That review's coming up on Tuesday.
I'd probably give the edge to Nirvana, because whether Dave Grohl would have then gone on to do Foo Fighters stuff afterwards, I don't know.
Yeah, if Kurt Cobain would have still been with us, and he could still be with us today, then Nirvana would have went down, it's not anyway, would have went down as one of the top rock acts, music acts of all time. Even more so than it is right now. It would be further solidified if that would have been the case. And who knows what would have happened with everybody else. And when it comes to the Foo Fighters, who knows what Taylor would have ended up if he wouldn't have ended up, because if he would have ended up with a different band. I mean, you never know what he could have ended up doing. He could have been with STP or something like that out of nowhere. So, and you never know what happens. Better car chase, Bullet or French Connection? Thanks to the Lights Motors action show at Disney's then MGM Studios, I got to watch both of these car chases on a ginormous screen as a part of the pre-show where they asked that exact question to the audience. And to this day, I cannot answer it because they're both so good.
I think me and Ashley talked about this recently, because I remember we were talking about how we like how the French Connections is a little more unconventional than your typical car chase.
True.
So that probably my main reason.
Actually filmed without any clearances. They just did it on real streets. It's just no, if you're not gonna get hit because our driver's good, but
But they both have that thing where like the explosion in Bullet is it's those moments where you get sad when a car chase is over because you get so. It's can we just That's why we already talked about Death Proof earlier, and it's the fact that one goes on and on and on is a benefit.
Oh, speaking of going on, and I can't answer this, Spencer. This is to AJ and Ashley. Rank the Die Hard movies best to worst.
Oh, that's easy.
Go ahead. I can't get in this conversation.
Well, you know what? I might have a controversial opinion here. Obviously, 1, 3. I might go 4 then 2. Because I really like 4 a lot, but I haven't seen 2 as many times as I've seen the others. But obviously 5 is 5. But I'll have to rewatch them and figure that out. But as of right now, off the top of my head, I might say 4 and then 2.
I'd say the same, but flip 2 and 4, because Die Hard 2 on the Die Hard trilogy on PS1 as the light gun thing was bloody awesome.
Thoughts on Grosse Point Blank?
I went back and forth on it, because when I watched it, I liked it. I didn't love it, but I liked it. And then I think I saw it a second time and wasn't as enthused about it. But then when I watched it, we did a video with it in the Matador. And when I watched it for that again, it was okay, I get it now. It's good. I especially the one thing it's missing is it needed so much more Aykroyd.
That's also fair.
Because I love Aykroyd playing that kind of character, and he was doing it perfectly, to the point that I forget he's only in it for 5 minutes, because he makes that much of an impression.
Josie brought this up, of course, because George Armitage also directed Miami Blues, which of course got referenced a little bit ago. Spencer Reed says favorite straight-to-DVD movie. AJ, I think you know my answer on this. Can I call it a straight to DVD movie or not?
Is it?
We're talking about Popcast Movie Club for 2 weeks.
I haven't. It's so weird how this keeps coming up. My answer is something from that same fucking video we keep bringing up. But are you gonna mention yours now? Now, or are you gonna mention yours later?
Just like AJ's be keeping me in the dark on his answer for Popcast Movie Club for tomorrow's show, I am going to keep everyone in the dark because it will be my pick for Popcast Movie Club episode 4.
I'm tempted to say. I'm tempted. I've got it here, but I'm not pulling it out because things will fall. Wake Up Ron Burgundy.
Thank you.
The
love Wake Up Ron Burgundy.
Anchorman 1.5, which makes no sense, but also makes perfect sense. I feel it's stronger than Anchorman 2.
AJ remembers when we used to watch that movie on a loop constantly back in the old place.
When we did that same video where Miami Blues got brought up and Big Fan got brought up, another movie got brought up. Back then, I only had it on VHS. I finally found a DVD of it at a random flea market, like 3 hours from here.
Nice.
It's a movie that's under a couple of titles, and last I heard, the only place you can find it now is like Tubi. Because I've had friends that I've recommended it to them, and they look everywhere for it, and they can't find it. It is a Matthew Lillard movie. Here, it goes by The Curve, but I think in most places it goes by Dead Man's Curve.
Yep.
And if you remember, the weird thing about it is, you remember Dead Man on Campus, the comedy with Tom Scott and Mark Paul Gosselaar. It's the same concept, and it came out the same year, but where that one is just a comedy, this is a dark comedy that's more of a thriller. And I think the main advertising about it, what little there was when it came out, was essentially Lillard's part is basically if Stu Macher lived to go to college. This is probably what would have happened. And it's him, Michael Vartan, and Kerry Russell, and Randall Badenkoff, who we just watched in The Player. And this movie is so insane, so twisted, so fucking cold-blooded and demented. And I think it adds even more so to the fact that it feels like nobody knows it exists. It's like that. I feel like this movie is, for a long time, this movie felt like just a dark secret that I kept to myself. And so if you can find it anywhere, I would check that out. So and that is, if I remember correctly, it started at Sundance and then went straight to video, I think.
And speaking of that, it's funny you mentioned Stu Macher going to college, because you are another person that predicted something that's actually going to happen now. Officially was announced this week that Matt Lillard is coming to the new Scream next year.
Really?
Yes.
What are we talking about?
Scream
The
6.
The next Scream movie is official. He's going to be coming back
And
as Stu.
Hayden.
Not sure how. Guess we'll find out soon enough.
Hayden Panettiere as well. Was she in 5?
There was that Easter egg, like YouTube thumbnail of her, but then it was confirmed that Kirby is coming back, apparently.
Yeah, was she in 4 then?
Yeah, that's where she started.
Right. Yeah, so she's making her return in 6 as well.
Oh man, I can't.
Getting closer.
Again, that obviously we talked about it in that video. I'm excited, not only because she's a great character and it's a great performance, but just in general, Kirby Reed just makes my heart. Yeah.
My only question is, considering how reboots of franchises go and how disappointing the Halloween sequel was, and compared to the reboot, even though it was obviously technically a sequel as well, I'm just concerned that Scream 6 is going to become Halloween Kills.
No.
I'm apparently they had a plan when they wrote 5 to do more. Like they already had the plan set in motion to do more,
Mhm.
but like they knew what they were going to do if they kept going, but I'm still worried. I'm especially worried about this supposed stew thing because that's not something if that's the direction they're going, they shouldn't be putting it out there now. They can't. Why are they so fucking obsessed with showing their cards? I just talked about this when I was talking about Doctor Strange. I don't. Because like you saw it in real time in our video. My brother, when he saw the new Scream, had no idea it was the climax is set at the Monker house. And I was like, I'm jealous of you because that's the first thing I knew months and months in advance.
Right.
And it's like I really wish that could have been oh, I had no idea that was coming.
Speaking of that, so I like to call this 30-minute rapid fire because there's really no other way to do it at this point. And my apologies.
We can probably give them a few extra minutes because when we got on our comedy thing, that really delayed the questions for a minute.
I have to work at 7 a.m., so that's the reason why it's more of a difficult thing at that point. I still have to walk tonight. Josie said, thoughts on the Dead Zone?
Good.
Cronenberg, or no, the series.
Ooh. Well, it says Christopher Walken specifically, so that would be the film.
Yeah. I literally just did a video on it this past October with The Gift. And I like it's hard to say because it takes so much out of the book. I have to be one of those people. There's so much in the book that's missing from it. It's like the movie is such a bare bones version of the book that it's kind of hard for me to gauge on a fair level as is.
I mean, to be fair, AJ, you have an entire series on this channel literally talking about King works that are put in a different medium, like in a different movie or like a short. So, I mean, I understand why you wouldn't be.
Because in a couple of days, we get to talk about Firestarter again.
Yeah. Speaking of things, AJ,
we'll get to that.
Speaking of that, Spencer says, has AJ revisited Unfriended? I feel it gets better upon rewatch. Disappointed in the sequel. Spencer, before we go any further, the one thing I want to say about this before I go any further is the fact that the only knowledge I have of the sequel is the Phalus review. So the one thing I will say about anything right now is a movie that I thought that I was disappointed with anything else is any of the sequels to VHS. I love the original VHS, but nothing else has been good as overall. There's been little segments here and there, but nothing has impacted like their original VHS.
That's really been the problem, I think, with a lot of the modern horror.
Fair.
They do a really good, I really like Conjuring 1. I really like Woman in Black. I actually did like Unfriended. But then the sequels, like, try and either tread too similar a line or go, like, way off kilter, but not in a Halloween way, not in a Halloween-free way, and make sense. It just feels like a lackluster, like, it wouldn't even go straight to DVD. It'd just go straight to, like, streaming on low-quality streaming stuff.
I don't remember hating Dark Web, but I don't really remember much about it. Period, except that it had like alternate endings and you didn't know which one you were getting or something. That was kind of interesting. But as far as the first, a lot of people think it's really dumb. But I'm gonna be honest with you. I have no shame in saying this. I have not rewatched it since the theater because it freaked me out that much. I will revisit it one day, but yeah, I just genuinely haven't because I'm kind of afraid to.
That's probably why it connected with me more, because I never got the chance to see it at the cinema because the times it was on, it was just like too late for sort of me to be able to go out and see. So I waited until I actually saw it on like a tablet or a thing where it feels like it's most at home, because that's where it's all from, and it worked better.
When we have technical difficulties here, And Owen says Laura Barnes, and I like do this. I'm not. That's not an act. That's not me playing along.
No,
I'm
it's like it's happening.
That's just like me like finishing Sinister for the first time, and like instead of like sitting in the theater, let's talk about it, like Siskel and Ebert style, like to a non-existent audience. What do? I get up and I get the hell out of the theater.
we got the fuck out of Sinister as fast as we could. And what's interesting about that is that the ending to Sinister sucks.
Yeah, totally.
But everything before it was so disturbing that's what I was thinking about.
And the second one just ruined the whole movie anyway. So ruined the mystique of the goal and everything. So
yeah.
But yeah,
I've never been so quickly unscared of something I was once scared of than Sinister.
100%.
I know this. I know this is close to things that are connected to you, Owen, but to not to a lesser extent. But I feel The Purge did that sort of similar issue as well. The first one was like really good, but then it came like, what excuse can we make to have another one?
Hey, it was a fine street the 2 years that we had it, and so many ways I'm not going into right now.
Yeah, but just to respect the concept work, but then it's like coming up with like so many different asterisks
and
for
I
the
love
sequels.
The house.
And the
it was very fun.
Here's a loophole. Let's abuse this. Let's do a sequel without doing it.
I know a lot of people hate the first one because it's just a home invasion movie and kind of ignores the concept, but and they thought it stepped up with Anarchy, and I can get that, but it's also annoying that you can't call the Ethan Hawke one the first Purge because that's the name of the fourth movie now.
Right.
The original Purge. Oh wait, that's gonna be the sixth movie. Damn it.
Yeah, this fifth one that just came out is just embarrassing. So
didn't even go into it. Josie says, speaking of Dead Zone, talking about Cronenberg's Crimes of the Future, baby, can't wait. Yes, indeed. Josie says that line in the trailer, "Surgery is the new sex," makes me laugh and cringe at the same time.
Well, if it comes from
Cronenberg, if you're laughing and cringing at the same time.
If the line is said, I'm trying to remember. If the line said by Leia Seydoux, makes sense.
Makes sense. More ways than one. Josie says, favorite King book adaptation movie.
Ironically enough, probably The Shining.
Yeah.
Unless we're talking about accuracy, in which case I'd need more time. But The Shining is just a perfect horror movie. It is perfectly made. So
it's technically not book because it was short story, but I still say Green Mile.
That's fair. Firestarter is horrific. Had a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes, says Josie. Favorite Willem Dafoe performance, says Spencer Reed.
Oh my god! I just 3 days ago I rewatched Platoon, and I always forget how it's a Best Picture winning movie. I still always forget how good it is.
I'm going with Grand Budapest.
That's good.
In all honesty, I still think of that performance in The Lighthouse.
I think it's got to be that. Yeah. I mean, despite fuck you, Sean Baker, the Florida Project has to be up there too. He's incredible.
He's really good in that.
But yeah, despite him having an entire career of amazing performances, I don't know how you can not say The Lighthouse.
I can't. I haven't seen it. I don't know if I'm gonna like it or not. I guess we'll see. Brian says ranking all the 5 Craig Bond movies. Number 5, Skyfall, calls it overrated. 4 is Quantum of Solace. That's still too high. 3 is Spectre. 2 is Casino Royale. 1 is No Time to Die, masterpiece. Cool. Speaking of, take a shot. Speaking of Bond,
wait, I need to rank Bond's Craigs. Number 1, Skyfall. Number 2 through 5, I don't fucking care.
Fair. Speaking of Bond, is it just Craig's, or is it's every actor who played Bond makes out with a girl in every single movie? Yes. Bond Lounge, Deezerland. Can't wait to go back someday when there's a movie there that I can actually go watch. So let's let along if the character is way too old and the female character, depending on the actor's age. Oh, let alone. Okay, right on. So basically you're saying like it's a younger girl making out with James Bond. Yeah, shock, surprise. Everyone needs water. But this is the season.
I love the fact that for Your Eyes Only, he doesn't want to go off with like the ice skating girl. Yet when it's Stacey Sutton in View to a Kill, when he's like 75, it looks like he's like, yeah, I'll hit that. Like,
Jesus. And we move on. Josie says, ever seen Mickey Blue Eyes?
It's sitting right here. I don't think I've seen it since the first time I watched it, but I remember thinking it was really funny.
mm-hmm.
Oh, dear Lord.
Now that I have the appreciation for Hugh Grant that I have now, it's probably even funnier.
Oh my God. I'm trying to get through chat, guys. I really am.
We haven't had too many comments since I said the 5-minute cutoff. That's a good thing.
I kayfabe on that. We're good. I like Hugh Grant's performance in Cloud Atlas. Josie, you never know what might come up Popcast Movie Club somewhere down the line if I decide to lift my rules of no long-ass movies. It may happen. We'll see. Hey, Tony. So, AJ, remember the referee from NWA Tri-State, Tony Wolf? He's in our chat room tonight. That's a blast. That's a blast from the past. Tony, everything's going great. Literally the best day ever. Waiting for Halloween Horror Nights and information to come in the future, and trying to run, exercise, and get under 160 pounds again. Crazy to think that after remember how big I used to be.
Is he a member of SAG, like Demolition Man guy?
Yeah, former professional wrestling referee. No, he's not a member of SAG. Jody says,
that dude really needs to come back and ask us what our boggle is. It would be an honor.
That's great. Josie says, love Nebraska. Bruce Dern actually won Best Actor at Cannes that year. Yes, very true. Spencer Reed says, bring in the chat, favorite and least favorite Scorsese directed movies.
Well, movies, we could be here all day with the best. Like 3/4 of them are the best. I have, like I said, probably controversial opinion. We talked about it when we did our top of all time. My favorite is actually The Departed.
Yes.
But, Goodfellas, Casino, Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, all the usual suspects are... I don't think he has an overrated movie.
No.
I have to say my least favorite is Bringing Out the Dead, because I only found it by accident because it's randomly being shown on television over here within the next 7 days, and I'm like, oh, what's this film that's part of this horror thing? Bringing Out the Dead. Wait, it's a Martin Scorsese film? When was I made aware of this?
I mean, if you look at the list of everything, and I'm looking at it right now because I like to be prepared, needless to say, there's so many great answers to this. Obviously, we talked about a ton of them already. Didn't mention The Wolf of Wall Street or Hugo. Shutter Island's great. Love The Aviator.
Before I forget, I'll throw out that if off the top of my head, I would say if I had to pick a worst, it's probably New York, New York. It's the one I just kind of care the least about.
I'm going to go with Silence. Overall, I mean, of everything I've seen, I would have to go with Silence by process of elimination, really.
Now that you bring up Silence, we have to give a shout out to the Ted Lasso Scorsese conversation, which is.
Let's see. Hirokazu Kurita's new movie at Cannes Broker is now been acquired by Neon. Decision to leave from Park. Go ahead.
Movie.
Right.
Movie got a decision to leave from Park Chan-wook.
Oh, great. I'm not going to be able to watch it. Like Worst Person in the World. Until it only just came out now digitally. Damn it.
I love the video store scene in The Fisher King, says Josie. Ever see Streets of Fire?
Yeah, I love Streets of Fire. That's the one with, Diane Lane, Willem, and Rick Moranis.
Directed by Walter Hill, yeah.
Yeah, I love that movie. I haven't seen it in a long time, but it left an impression.
Speaking of... Oh, take a shot. Favorite fire scene in a movie?
Oh my god, fucking Christine.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah. I credit Christine for the end of the car chase in the Batman, when the Batmobile flies out of the fire. I mean, I was like, that has to be an ode to Christine. And then when it's chasing him down the street still on fire, holy shit. I love that. That's like one of my favorite scenes in any horror movie.
Speaking of things on fire, the Red Dragon comes to mind.
You can throw Manhunter in there too.
Yes, same thing.
It's gonna sound
obviously Ladder
got a
40 playing
wasp.
back.
It's gonna sound weird, but the naked fireplace scene in Women in Love.
Okay. Is that Alan Bates and Oliver Reed, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, I don't know why it's there, but it's compelling.
It's memorable.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of memorable fire scenes, you want to talk about it? Talk about Ace Ventura when we find out about Sean Hayes.
Young.
And he burned young. I don't know why I said Sean Hayes. I'm tired. Give me a break. I'm happy. Be happy. But I'm happy. Speaking of buildings, ever seen Towering Inferno?
Of course. Have the thing that I love about like old school disaster movies is how they essentially start to turn into slasher movies with the disaster itself as the slasher. Because
Yeah.
you meet a whole slew of characters at the beginning, and then just one by one they die violently.
Yeah. Which famous person's gonna die next? Da, 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 da.
Let's see. Who's next on the hit parade? Brian has a pitch for us. You're a couple weeks late on the Popcast Movie Club, Brian, but we'll take it. Ultimate Edition of Spider-Man. No way you would keep everything in. Okay, Ultimate Edition of No Way. Okay, so obvious edition of the new movie. But Miles Morales and Kingpin from Into the Spider-Verse and Riz Ahmed's Riot and Woody Harrelson's Carnage. From the Venom movies and Tom Hardy's Venom with Miles for the fight.
It follows up slightly under as well.
I think right now, if you did that, you would make every single Marvel mark on the face of planet Earth's head explode at the same time.
Have Vulture escape from prison and team up with the other villains and bring the original idea of Mysterio coming out of the crack, fighting with Doctor Strange, and also bring Daredevil into the final fight.
And for God's sake, we still need to elaborate on Michael Mondo playing Scorpion. That's still
completely different reference right here. When I think of Mike Mondo, I'm thinking the Spirit Squad. I'm not thinking of an actor. Needless to say, Josie says the jokes in Emperor's New Groove are so absurdly funny, like when they go to the diner. Speaking of name, favorite John Goodman performance?
It's down to 2. I mean, I assume we're not counting Dan Connor, because that's a whole other thing.
I would say so.
If we're talking movies, it's got to be either... It's weird. In real life, he seems so approachable and so lovable and so nice and quiet. But the two that are coming to mind are the two where he... The two that immediately come to mind where he plays psychopaths.
So we're obviously...
It's either Barton Fink or 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Oh!
And I can't...
It wasn't Barton Fink that I was thinking of. I was thinking Lebowski.
Yeah. It's him in one of his Coen Brothers performances or 10 Cloverfield Lane. I'm probably leaning towards Barton Fink because it's such a two-sided performance because he gets to play the typical John Goodman character and the psychopath in the same role. I'm sorry, that's a spoiler for anybody.
And I'm super glad we bring up that we're on the same page with 10 Cloverfield Lane, because that's a movie that should have, in a just world where it wouldn't have been so packed, that performance should have gotten into Best Actor. And I championing it for forever, trying to get John Goodman into Best Actor to will things into existence. It never happened, but God, he got close.
That's the film that warranted Cloverfield to actually have a legacy. Then Cloverfield Paradox happened, and then we were like, shit.
What else we got? Oh, blood. There's a lot, so much more. Josie says, love the blatant dramatic irony in Back to the Future. Love the line in the second one where old Biff tells young Biff, you always had a way with women. Atlantis Mileage Return was originally going to be a TV series called Team Atlantis, says Brian, but the episode that were finished Disney thought would be too good for TV, so they put it all... take a shot. So they decided to put all the finished episodes into one movie, like The Beauty and the Beast, Belle's Magical World, another film originally made for a television series. Favorite Skarsgård brothers, says Spencer, and favorite Jamie Lee performance outside of Halloween.
Favorite Jamie Lee performance is My Girl.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment right there.
The Skarsgårds are hard to say because I'm only really familiar with two of them, and one of them I've seen him around, but only one role comes to mind, obviously. So I feel like it'd be Alexander by default, but because I've just seen him do more at this point.
Mm.
But Bill definitely has the capacity to have a similar career, so that's probably all I can really say about that.
I know it isn't the brother, but Stella.
Jesus. Josie says, I can see Tarantino making a witch movie, a revisionist history movie about the Salem witch trials. Yes, make that happen now.
What will be the 10th film or the 11th film?
Yeah, because a
Or
lot
however
of,
you count it.
Go ahead, because I have, we're almost there.
I was just say a lot of people seem to be tired of the revisionist history thing. I just whatever he does, I don't care what it is, I'm gonna be into it.
100%. Speaking of that, Spencer Reed brings up a comment. Spencer, it's interesting you bring this up because AJ is going to find how ironic this statement really is. AJ, you should rewatch all your movies from the first video on screen. See if your opinions are the same.
Oh my god. Yeah, because I'm sure. I mean, as daunting as that sounds, yeah, I'm sure I've probably changed my mind a lot since some old stuff.
And it's funny you mentioned that because we talked about it last time, and I'll bring it up that in the not distant future, in the nearly future, take it that any way you want, AJ is going to be going back in time to. I thought it was a perfect time to drop that reference. To go back into the future, quite literally, to go to the Back to the Past and talk about the movies that used to suck ass, and we're going to see what he thought about them now, and he's actually going to be reviewing them. He's reviewing the reviews, so it's something he's not been wanting to do, but I think he's got it figured out that he's going to do it. But it's
I
not.
almost think I almost think that could be narrowed down to just being the movies that I gave really, really negative reviews and see if anything's changed.
Yes. Either way, something of this ilk is coming to the network sometime in 2022, 2023. We'll see what happens with that. Josie says, where are we? There you are. To refer to a question from earlier about how about a Jordan Peele rom-com with Jeffrey Wright and Lupita Nyong'o?
I could see. I'd be waiting for the moment it gets really dark. I don't know that, especially after Key and Peele and how some of those sketches started like regular sketches and then got really dark as they went. I don't know if Peele made something that wasn't horror or thriller, I'd feel on edge the whole time anyway because I feel like I wouldn't trust it.
It's fair. Don't forget, we've decided, and the internet has decided that not of planet Earth is what Nope stands for, but we'll see if that's the case or not. Spencer Reed says, favorite Child's Play movie? I like Revenge of Chucky myself for obvious reasons, but I'm not talking about the actual movie. I'm talking about the fact I like Bride of Chucky, actually.
Yeah, it's one or Bride for sure. I think one, because Bride is good, but it's also like you almost kind of feel like it's a bit of a guilty pleasure, except for Jennifer Tilly, who's genuinely like award worthy in it, and I stand by that. But one is objectively good to me because it's like I said, that whole thing where it sets itself up. Like obviously you know what's going on, but the way I love that the first Child's Play is set up is that if you're going in 100% blind and have no idea what the concept is, you could genuinely think it's Andy for a while doing it.
Oh, totally.
And I love that setup.
And to some extent, the reboot from a year or two back was actually not bad compared to like the modernized remakes or whatever of like, well, recently Texas Chainsaw Massacre's reboot on Netflix is just really didn't hit, and whatever.
Yeah, the one with Mark Hamill is great. I'm on board with that.
So much Horror Nights talk today. I wonder why. It's interesting. It's weird. It's the season apparently.
Keep in mind, if you are in America, there's a blood moon tonight. It's a superlunar eclipse. That's probably why. Also, it's 2 days after Friday the 13th, so...
We're all doomed.
Laura Dern. Damn it, wrong Laura. Shit.
Josie says, also love Stella. Josie, I hope you're talking about the sketch comedy troupe we talked about earlier today when we were talking about the state. I really hope that's what we're referring to. Josie says, this is not an actor-actor pairing, but Julia DeCornell and Ari Aster would be a great hot director couple. Josie says the one saving grace of Monsters U is Charlie Day. He should have voiced Olaf. I guess I'm biased. Extremely biased because of Book of Mormon. But I mean, I will say right now that I can't see anything good about Monsters University. It created the cult that lives to this day, and I do not like it at all, and I wish it would just go away and never, ever come back. I think Atlantis is underrated, says Josie. Mm-hmm. Brian said worse than Chicken Little, AJ. Haven't watched it in many years.
My memory of Chicken Little is practically non-existent. But I am when I was looking at that list, I was curious, and I might go back and see some of those that I have like no memory of. As I was looking at that, I was actually coming to the conclusion I don't think I ever saw Dinosaur, like even once.
Funny, we're bringing that up in a minute, so put a pin in that. Josie says Sword in the Stone is underrated, and she put her sword emoji. I love when you throw those little emojis. They're Josie. They're really they make me smile. Love The Rescuers. Love Oliver and Company. Yeah, Oliver and Company is amazing. Not enough people even know what that movie is, and it saddens me. Those McDonald's toys are amazing too. As sick as I am of the Disney reboots, I love a Safdie Brothers adaptation of Oliver and Company. Yes, my God, yes, that sounds amazing.
And I actually had an epiphany as a child. Because I just thought growing up, I just thought Oliver and Company was Oliver and Company, and then in 5th grade, our school play was Oliver Twist, and it suddenly all came together for me.
That's great. Ryan Johnson doing The Great Mouse Detective.
That'd be wild.
Because
of Knives Out. That's why.
Thoughts on the Avatar: Way of Water trailer?
It's blue.
It's gonna make me not care, just like the original movie.
Obviously, I have no opinion.
Yeah.
I will say right now, Josie says, speaking of 3D, are there still 3D attractions in the parks? Oh God, yes, absolutely. And people still complain about them.
Does Shrek 4D still exist? Or did they get rid of it?
Nope. It closed, good sir. It's gone.
That's the only legacy of Shrek 3D, with the stupid 3D glasses that you got on DVD.
You can still watch the entire movie on DVD right now without the 3D, and the 3D isn't really necessary other than the fact to just have someone just moving your chair, so you can do that if you really want to. Spencer Reed says, have you ever seen How to Eat Fried Worms? Love it as a kid. Absolutely. I love Judy Blume. I really do, greatly. I was a big Ramona mark, and I loved How to Eat Fried Worms as well. Super Fudge was great. It never got an adaptation either, but I have a feeling someday it might. But I love those. I love the Beverly Quimby books growing up as one thing I kind of gravitated towards when I was a kid. I don't know why, because I'm an adult male. I was a male adult back in the day, and I don't know why I went to female adolescent young adult novels, but I just love them. They were just really well done, well written books, and I recommend them to this day.
2 things about How to Eat Fried Worms, this movie. Number 1, I saw it twice in the theater. And secondly, to this day, I don't think I've seen it. I saw it twice in the theater, and I don't think I've seen it since. But still, to this day, when I am eating an omelet, I do an impression of James Rebhorn saying, "That's a good omelet."
Nice.
Good soup.
Josie says, one time I was watching a movie with Courtney Love. 200 Cigarettes. A very underrated movie. I love that movie. Again, I'm a Christian mark, so that's the reason why. And my brother was like, that's the girl who killed Kurt Cobain. Well, Josie, you're not wrong, but still. Spencer Reed says, longest movie you've ever seen. AJ, can you answer this for me? Because obviously you know that I've watched pretty much. You've known what I've watched when it comes to long movies. I don't know if I have.
Did you actually watch Gods and Generals, or did you just work there when it was there?
Oh God, no, that was not even. No, there was no way I was gonna be able to sit through that.
Have you seen something longer than Return of the King?
I don't.
Have you seen Return of the King?
Yes, the 700. I've seen Return of the King.
If we're as far as mine, it probably depends on what our qualifiers are, because if we're talking like movies that like had like a traditional release, it'd probably be Bartolucci's 1900, which is like 5.5 hours.
Yeah, you were telling me about that one before.
But there's also like Vampires, which is that silent one from 1915 about the I was having a conversation with my brother in a video, and I mistakenly referred to it as an actual vampire movie. It's not. Um, but it started off as like a serial that was like 10 episodes, and they just put it together as like a 7.5 hour thing that's technically called one movie. So for me, it probably just depends on what the qualifier would be for what a movie is.
That makes sense.
Did you ever see Gone with the Wind? That's 4 hours.
No, we were supposed to watch it a billion times. It never came close enough.
Did you ever see JFK?
Yes, I did.
I think the original JFK is just 3. I'm more familiar with the director's cut of JFK. That's 3.5. I'm not sure which one you would have seen.
The one that was on the website. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I'm really not sure what yours would be.
Yeah, it's interesting to come up with that one because I don't know. I don't have an answer to that.
I think the longest probably having something one will probably be Gone with the Wind, but Shoah, the documentary about sort of Jewish Holocaust stuff, that was shown in like 3 parts over a couple of nights, and my dearly departed mum in the 60s went off with her boyfriend, who wasn't my dad at the time, somebody else, and over 2 nights saw all 8 hours of the Russian War and Peace from like 1965.
Dear God.
Like 2 4-hour bits.
I have that criteria, but I haven't watched the whole thing yet. Berlin Alexanderplatz, I'm pretty sure, surpasses 1900. So when I finish Berlin Alexanderplatz, that'll probably end up being my definitive answer.
And speaking of definitive answer, we're going to take it home with Josie bringing up the final question of the night. Thoughts on Dinosaur?
As alluded to, I have no...
I have the PS2 game of it, and I have the 2-disc special edition DVD because it was going cheap. It's one of these great bits when you go to the shops, and it's like the 1-disc DVD is like £4, but the 2-disc special edition is £2.50. It's cheaper to get the one with more features and everything. Yeah, I've never watched it. I've never even played the game. I only got it because, again, it was like 25p or 50 pence, and it was like, I need the collection.
I like the ride. I really do. And it's funny because that ride's great. It started out as Countdown to Extinction, then it became Dinosaur. And the funny thing is, it's the same exact ride vehicle, same like setup, obviously different overlay, just kind of like the Spider-Man Transformers thing. It's one of those things that I was always a bigger on Dinosaur than I was on Indiana Jones. But when I went to California in January, I realized that I really liked Indiana Jones. And the reason I didn't like Indiana Jones was obviously because of all the snakes. When I actually covered my eyes the last time, which I uncovered my eyes this time, I was able to really enjoy Indiana Jones more. So I can honestly say now I need to ride Dinosaur, and I will in the next couple weeks, so I can verify if I still feel the same way that I did before. So yeah, I'll give you theme park talk, Josie, because I can't really talk about the movie. So that might be your show. I think it is.
That's a wild thing to end on. I don't think there's ever been a case where neither one of us have seen the movie in question.
That was the 5th highest grossing film of 2000, Dinosaur, apparently. That's probably the more disturbing thing.
Okay. So that's your show. Thank you, Josie. Thank you to Brian. Thank you to Spencer for chiming in tonight. If you're not chiming in chat and you're still watching the show, thank you again. If you'd like to comment and do another Q&A with us, we'll be back on the Double or Nothing weekend, which in non-wrestling layman's terms, that basically means the end of the month. For
if Monday is locked in to be the movie club day, then it will be on the 31st, so literally last day of the month.
So we're gonna, on Monday the 30th, will be Popcast Movie Club. It's gonna be AJ's movie, which he is leaving me in the dark about, which it's gonna face off against the movie that I've been wanting to talk about for a long time. It probably should have been what I led off with instead of Moving Violations. This is a movie that I absolutely love, and we talked about straight to DVD earlier. I guess I can kind of say it somewhat is, because it only was released on television at one point, put it that way, cable television. So we may talk about that week. If not, we're going to be talking about it in June. So get ready for that. So that battle is coming to determine what's going to be episode 4 of Popcast Movie Club. You get to make that choice tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, tentatively speaking, but keep prepared that may change depending on the circumstances. I would say probably no later than 7. We're going to try to start as early as possible because, as always, I have to work early the next morning. So that's going to be your show for today. AJ's movie reviews of Firestarter, as well as
Studio 666, and The Cursed.
That's coming on Tuesday. And then tomorrow night we have...
Our precursor to Sleuth will be me answering the New York question.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So we're going to start with that. And so, yeah, Popcast Movie Club tomorrow night, 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It may start at 6:30. Just keep prepared for that. We may start a little bit later. I have to run. I don't get off to work till 3:30. So needless to say, I got lots of stuff to do, and I got to do something about food, too. So we'll worry about that later on. That's going to be your show tomorrow. Popcast Movie Club, Episode 3 on Sleuth. That's coming your way tomorrow. And, yeah, I still got a couple more Water Parks concerts stuff to put up from the November 19th show at House of Blues. AJ looks like he was about to say something.
I got to throw one more thing out there I'm extremely enthusiastic about. I don't know if anybody else is watching, but, of course, we have a new episode of Barry tonight in a couple of hours. And I just got to say that this season is kind of terrifying me. We're going dark in ways I did not know we were going to be going dark, and they're building something up. I feel like something really, really bad is about to happen, and it's been a while since I've been this excited about watching a show week to week, because usually when I watch shows week to week, I end up forgetting about them and have to finish them later. I am sticking to Barry like glue every fucking Sunday. So
that's the way I feel about Season 2 coming very soon. So I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, Ashley can be found on @AshIsMyNameUK. More snack stashes coming, more gaming content coming eventually. Lots of Ashley content still to come on this network. And AJ content, of course, as always. You cannot find him on any social media networks. You'll leave him a comment, you're able to do so. And, of course, the only way to find him is leave a comment at the bottom of the video he'll get back to down the line, because now we have an avenue for him to actually talk. So, needless to say, we're going to take full advantage of that. And, of course, it wouldn't be a show if I didn't mention the fact that, just like Keith Richards, he cannot be killed by conventional weapons, but he also can be found on non-social medias. And you never know, maybe you'll see someone that may or may not be like him somewhere down the line if you pop up into a message board or two. Who knows where I'm talking about? I'm not even going to tell you. You never know who you may have run into AJ somewhere down the line. You just have to find out. Exactly, Edward Burns. That's going to be... Hi, Cassie. See you popped in at the last minute here. So, yeah, that's going to be your show today. You can follow me on Twitter at Suro and Disney, and you can also feel free if you have any questions, comments, versus ideas. We're still getting them here and there, so we appreciate every single one of them. You can shoot me an email if you like, surodisney@gmail.com. So in the meantime, I want to thank you guys and girls out there for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Stream Funeral Grey. And until next time, boys and girls, that's all we got to say about that.